Greetings, gamer guys and gals. Welcome to part number 17 of my Let's Play Fire Emblem 5 Thracia 776, and in today's episode we're going to be dealing with Dagdar's Manor, Chapter 8X. A very difficult chapter. Not the most difficult chapter, but there are actual instances of losing having to reset multiple times on this chapter because of the fact that sometimes Dagdar will just die in the first turn. And when you see all the enemies he's about to reveal, you'll see why. So the reason why we have a torch on both Tanya and Dagdar is so that we can see all of the enemies here. And Dagdar is going to have to fight all 8 of these guys turn 1. Luckily for us, none of them have the movement in order to get into attack range of this corner, which is exactly where I'm going to be putting Tanya. Now, Tanya is going to be very crucial to this strategy working, and that is that Dagdar seriously needs some good old avoid and some good hit. Now, usually Dagdar can one-round these guys without having to proc a cost. So 23 minus 7, so he's doing 16 times 2, so he is probably going to KO all or close to all of these guys with just the Iron Axe without having to proc a cost. What's really important about that is that he's likely to get hit a couple of times. Once he goes below their HP, so around like 29, 28 or less, he is no longer going to be able to proc a cost, which is something you kind of hope doesn't happen, just to put it simply. Alright, so let's attack with the Iron Sword here. It seems kind of silly to do that because it would be nice to have the Vouge for next turn because we will have a ranged unit here. And notably, I probably should have done that, but it's okay. It's really not that big a deal. We're completing this chapter around the same amount of time regardless of what we do. And we have a couple of units over here to deal with Asbel. We're going to take Laura over here as well, and Safi is going to join this crew. And this is also one of those chapters that is the reason why I turn off animations. Usually when I'm playing Thracia by myself, I don't have animations on, period, until like the final confrontations, just because it's really not all that conducive to saving on time, especially when you play the game as much as I have. I have played this game dozens and dozens of times. Not all of those are to completion, I will admit, but that's mostly due to the fact that my favorite part of this game is the Munster escape arc, and I will sometimes just play through that and reset. So unless Dagdar dodges 3 attacks here, he is going to die. It's definitely not impossible for him to dodge all 3, but at this point, it's not really that likely. Alright, so he just has to dodge 1 more. And he dodged. Awesome. That was, like I said, Dagdar can just die here. He is such a busted unit. But even he suffers from dealing with a ton of enemy units. And imagine if he did not have Tanya in range. He wouldn't have dodged most of those attacks that he did dodge. Alright. Yeah, this is part of the reason why I probably should have used the Vouge on Ocean to get that 2 range out of here. Now, interestingly enough, there are a bunch of chests in this chapter, not just these 2. There's, I believe, 6 in this chapter in total. There's 1 over here, and there's 1 over here. This thief will go literally into this room and escape. He will not, absolutely will not steal that chest. Don't know why that is. Don't ask me why that is. I could not tell you. But it is definitely an intriguing fact of the matter. All right. I can put Dagdar right here with the iron bow. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and use a vulnerary here. If he was not damaged as much as he is, I would probably just heal him up with Safi and move on. But I think it's better if I just don't do that. Now, we are going to attack and hopefully KO this guy. Let's see, we're doing only... Oh man, we're only doing 8 times 2. This is why it would have been better had I just had the Vujon. Mistakes happen. Mistakes are made. Perfect strategies, there's just no such thing. You'll watch people play these kinds of games, and they'll basically just plow through it as if it's the easiest thing in the world. And one of the reasons why I can play this game so well is because I have actually played this game for many years. But in all honesty, if you watch somebody play through this game like it's nothing, it is likely due to the fact that he has had many, many years of experience. And that's pretty much it. So this second phase is pretty interesting. You can actually trick the enemies to attack Dagdar at 2 range and keep all of the 1 range enemies at bay. This is one of the reasons why I give him an iron bow. It's unfortunate he did not KO that brigand up there. He kind of needed to. Yeah. Had he KO'd that brigand, he would have... Let's see. This guy has a hand axe. That's not that big a deal. Yeah, had he KO'd that brigand with the hand axe up there, he would have been attacked by all of the bow unit at range, which would have been good. Alright, so I think he... Yeah, so she can be attacked by both of them, but interestingly enough, Tanya starts this chapter, and only in this chapter, with Miracle Plus. She cannot die in this chapter. She will get captured if they can capture her, but she literally cannot die. Alright, so we're going to move Safi over here and physic Dagdar. I do believe that well, I don't think that waste a use. So let's find that out right there. No, I did not waste a use, so that's okay. Sometimes this game can be a bit wild about stuff like that. We're going to go ahead and use our Fire Tome here and smite this guy. This chapter also has one of the most daunting and difficult bosses in the entire game, too. So, if you don't have a party capable of dealing with this boss in here, like at all, if you have no option whatsoever to deal with him, you might want to just skip out on this chapter. The only problem with that is that this chapter has incredibly good stuff. I would dare say that the only legitimately easy way to deal with this boss in this chapter is to use Asbel, but there are other ways. Like, for instance, Fergus with his massive follow-up critical modifier. We haven't been using him the last couple of chapters because he was unfortunately fatigued last chapter, and in this chapter he was not up for debate being used. We need more, like, longer, like, more move units. Now this is what I'm talking about. Dagdar just one-rounding these guys with the iron bow. Usually he does. So as we saw there, he just escaped. He didn't go for a chest or anything like that. We're going to move right here and equip the Vuj. We want to be careful that we don't put her within the range of any of these units. I don't think any of them can reach her if we attack this guy from here. We're going to do that so that Dagdar can take out the brigand to the south that needs to be taken out way more importantly than that brigand right there. She's also leveling up pretty darn well. One of the reasons why I do like giving her experience points, even if I am not going to use her, is due to this chapter. Now, like I said, she cannot be killed in this chapter, but that doesn't matter. What you want is you want her to be at least somewhat competent so that she can help her father if need be. And that's actually pretty likely. It is pretty likely that that he would need help by her at some point. It's not necessarily guaranteed that that's the case, but it is likely. And there we go. Alright, so what we can do here, this is also how you can trick the guys to attack Dagdar at 2 range by putting him in such a way that only one range unit can attack him, and then the rest have to go for 2 range, and that's through this doorway. Very nice. All right. And then we can go right here. I think we want to go middle. And we're just going to move up slightly with these units. We don't want to move up too far because we don't want those bow units to attack, but there's also a load of enemies in the room that Ocean is underneath. And as you can see, our strategy is turning out to be a good one. Very nice, Dagdar. This gives him some pretty good bow weapon experience, but it's not really going to make that big of a difference because I've never in this game gotten Dagdar above a D rank in bows at best. Now you have to be careful here. One of the reasons why it's a good idea either not to promote your Ocean or early promote him at 10 like I did is because if these guys don't do any damage to Ocean, which is not likely because they have a pretty decent amount of attack, but if he has high enough defense, they just will not attack him. That's the reason why the bow units in that room are not attacking him. We're going to have to finish them off with somebody else. But this is why I brought Ocean instead of somebody like Fergus, is because we need reliable 1-2 range. Asbel is our best at that, but Ocean is second best, easily. I would say that I can't really say that Asbel is like... He is definitely possibly top 3 best combat units in this game, but he's not like the best. Alright, with that being said, I think this guy, yep, he has a regular steel axe. What we could do... Perfect. I would say Asbel is at least top 5. We're going to use this other torch here. It seems like it would be a waste, especially since you're hearing the victory theme, and I said that this chapter has no reinforcements, but we do need the ability to open all of these doors. Alright. We can put you there and there. And we can also start opening these chests. So we got the Null's Scroll, which is the best scroll in the game for your thieves. It's HP plus 10, Strength plus 10, Skill minus 10, Defense plus 10, and Constitution plus 10. And we can see the reason why this is the best for your thieves. The Constitution plus 10 is really only useful on thieves. Growing Constitution otherwise is not important. Like, you want to get to a point where it's not super bad. Like, you don't have super bad Constitution in such a way that you can't use any weapon without losing a ton of speed. So yes, every unit in this game wants probably anywhere between 5 and 10 Constitution, somewhere in that range, except for someone like Asbel, who doesn't need Constitution at all because he uses magic. So your magic units don't care about that. But you want Constitution absolutely for your thieves. We're going to be putting that on Lithus as soon as we can. Yeah, we can see the downside of Dagdar and his accost. Alright, so one thing we can do is put Tanya here. Alright, we can open this door. I actually shouldn't have done that, because it doesn't really matter. Putting Tanya there. But we'll go ahead and open this chest. Hammer received. Awesome that we get another hammer. Is it going to be useful? Not particularly. And in all honesty, it's very likely that you're not going to see the hammer being used. Like, even the first hammer is not going to find itself being completely used. That was unfortunate. And she is level 11, so we're going to be able to promote her soon. Alright, let's go ahead and trade. We're going to put the Vouge in Ocean's inventory, so he will attack Tanya. I don't really want to give Leaf any more experience points right now, and there's good reasons as to why that is. If we need him to attack, I will gladly use him to attack. It's wild that he just got hit. Very unlikely. All right. Let's finish you off. We needed you gone like a million turns ago. Thank you, Dagdar. Showing your detest for him as well. Door. I think it's just better that we take this guy out, like, immediately. It is very unfortunate that heroes don't get a plus on their movement. But what can you do, right? What can you do? Alright. I halfway don't want to put her there. 4 con. How much con does she have? 3 con, so she can actually be rescued. But she cannot be reached. Yeah. I doubt we have any more units in this room, but if we did, it would be just such a shame to watch her just die to the said unit. Alright, and that's the end of our turn. We're not going to need her healing for a moment anyhow, so... let's go ahead and talk. Dagdar, you're all right.
Well, I'll be, Prince Leaf. And here I was the one who was supposed to be rescuing you. Sorry for dragging you into my mess. So, where's Avel? She head back to Fianna or is she with you? Prince, what happened?
Avel is still in Munster. We didn't have the forces to rescue her. I couldn't save her.
What? Damn it, Leaf. Are you a real prince or just a child? How the hell could you just leave her?
There was nothing I could do. I wasn't strong enough. Wasn't fast enough. With my meager strength, what good am I to anyone? What should I do? What can I do? If I'd just been a little stronger, if I had done things differently, maybe.
Damn it, Prince. You're putting too much of the blame on yourself.
But...
Look, I'm sorry for yelling at you just now. I wasn't expecting things to go so wrong, and I took it out on you. Truth be told, Prince, you're tougher than most. You tried to rescue her, right? You made the effort, and it ain't your fault it didn't work out.
Dagdar?
Sure, you kids are going through some rough times right now, no doubt. But quit your worrying, because I'll be helping you out from now on. Yeah, it ain't like anybody can replace Avel, but you still got a long way to go before this war is lost. And hey, captured ain't dead, right? We'll get Avel back together.
He says that, but we actually get a growth unit later on in this game who kind of puts Avel to an open shame. I'm just going to throw it out there right then. And yes, you do have to grow said unit, but either way. Alright, let's open this chest. And we get a Devil Axe. So if you were wanting one and failed to capture that one in Chapter 4X, there you go. And we get the Wrath Manual. So this is going to a very specific unit that I almost always give it to. Pure Water, nice. Awesome. We want Tanya and Ocean to have their little conversation before the final confrontation. And I think, yes, Ocean is the one who has to initiate the conversation, which is fine. And right here, we have Gomez. And just for a moment, look at this man's burly stats. Now, he has a 0 follow-up critical modifier, but he has 1 vigor star. I have actually lost on many occasions to this guy because I had attacked him with Asbel, missed just one time, and then he, on his turn, got a vigor star and killed Asbel, which is wildly annoying. I am a fan of some of the bosses having vigor stars. I think it makes the game more difficult, and I'm definitely not going to complain about it, but it can be quite the nuisance. Now, what we have to do here, however, is we have to attack him with the Graph Caliber. There's just no way we're going to hit reliably with either the Fire or the Thunder. Now, you can steal the Lockpick. The problem with this is, though, is that your Laura or Lithis have to have gotten more than 14 speed by this point, and most of the times, neither of mine do. It is nice also to have Nana here, because she would give a plus 10 hit to Asbel, but we're just going to have to make do.
Damn it, don't you dare underestimate the great Gomez. I'll shrug off whatever you got.
Ah. Well, that was a waste of the Graph Caliber. Alright, so the only thing we can do is just move on. He's going to attack Asbel. And miss, thankfully. And we could potentially finish him off with either Fire or Thunder. But like I said, I mean, it's a 53 hit. I suppose we can try. And we got it. We got a crit, in fact. Nice.
Dagdar, boss, I'm sorry, but everybody was starving to death and you were too stupid to see it.
And we got a level up and a weapon level up for Asbel. So we're actually at C rank fire, which means we could use L-Fire tomes, but we sold all those specifically because they are of kind of no use to us, being honest. They're not really all that big a deal. They weigh too much. They are strong, I'll grant that, but they weigh too much and they don't have enough hit to justify them. Alright, we can move over yonder, and we can talk with Ocean, and our next turn will be our last.
Tanya, you're safe. You really had me worried there, you moron.
Who you calling a moron, moron? Nobody asked you to fret over me.
Would it kill you to show some gratitude? If we'd showed up any later, you'd just be a stain on the floor.
What? You're the one who started this argument. I hadn't said one word to you when you started yelling at me. You're always like this. Gloomy little Ocean, always ready to kill the mood. Whatever I lack for gratitude, you lack for manners. Just this once, you could stand to even be a little friendly.
Hey, wait, don't cry, okay? I just mean, I was really... I'm glad you're safe. So, anyhow, yeah.
Young love, right? Young love. You could definitely tell they both are, and they do give each other a mutual 10% support, which I think is pretty cool. The only people who typically give 20% supports are units that are married, typically, in this game. Alright, so we got the leg ring. I lied a little bit. We're actually going to be taking another turn, or two, because I want to use that leg ring on Leaf. And the reason being is because there's really two thoughts behind what you want to do in Fire Emblem when it comes to the boots and leg ring items. You either want to give them, and this increases movement by 2, by the way, so Leaf is going to have 8 movement. You either want to give these items to your Dancer unit, which we do not have yet, or you want to give it to your Lord unit. If it is a seas-heavy game, like Thracia isn't the most seas-heavy game in the series. That would happen to be a tie between Fire Emblem 1, 11, and 6. That is just because of the way that they were both created. But in all honesty, what you really want is you just want to weigh your options. Is it better to have your Dancer have that movement, or is it better to have your Lord unit have that movement? Now, luckily for us, we don't need Safi in the next chapter at all. I'm not going to be bringing her, not going to be taking her, so on and so forth. So it wouldn't even have mattered had she been fatigued here. Let's go ahead and equip the short sword and seize.
I pity Dagdar and his men, truly, but why couldn't they just earn their food through honest labor? And where would they labor? Their very land was infertile. Many of these men were children of Thracian farmers, abandoned by their parents. They turned to banditry out of sheer necessity. Their choice was simple: steal or starve. Then they had coward for parents to have forsaken their children so. And how would you know? You've been on the run for your whole life, true, but you've never known the pains of hunger. Just where do you think your food came from during all those days you were fleeing from the Empire? Where my food came from? I don't know. I never had to worry about hunger. Then you were fortunate to have had such loyal allies and retainers, but it has left you lacking the perspective to truly understand how the common folk suffer. South Thracia is a land dominated by mountains. Steep, imposing crags dot the landscape, and a cliff lies around every corner. By nature, the land demands severity and discipline from all who live in it. Farmers who work themselves to the bone to cultivate what few crops the land will provide, but even so, it is not enough to survive on, and thus they are left with a terrible dilemma. For every one person who gets fed, 2 others must go hungry.
Dagdar's men, abandoned in their youth, are the result of this ruthless arithmetic. This is the reality of living in South Thracia. Then they should have just import food from somewhere. In North Thracia, cities had an abundance of crops by their excess. Ah, but the whole of North Thracia, the old coalition of Munster, resolved long ago to prohibit trade with South Thracia. Food especially was closely guarded. Why would the North do such a thing? Historically, recall the war between Niorn and Dane's children 100 years ago. That led to the province of Munster declaring independence from the rest of Thracia. The two have considered each other enemies ever since, and this hostility persists because they are mutually unwilling to communicate. The noble houses of Munster, in particular, remained stubborn and selfish for a century afterward. I had been told that Thracia was all but a military state, that it was an infamously belligerent kingdom. But if they are merely the product of such wretched conditions, how did things all go so wrong? The North and South were a single kingdom once. It all returns to the tragedy of the Jaybolg, to the misfortune that seems to befall all those who wield either of the Holy Lances. North Thracia has been plagued by selfish and short-sighted rulers. You must learn from their example. Learn how not to govern. If nothing else, you must learn enough not to repeat your father's mistake. Absolutely love that chapter and the story that we are getting. Putting down the bandit uprising at Mount Veeldrake, Leif's army now sought to join forces with the remnants of Leonster's nobility. Leif set a course for General Hannibal's mountain villa, where the deposed nobles now lived in hiding. And this is a very intriguing chapter. So firstly and foremostly, we are going to be doing some trading. Every one of my units that will be going south needs to have a scroll on him. Just every one. There's just no way to avoid this. And the reason why is because a lot of units have killer weapons to the south. And what better way to deal with killer weapons than to give all of our fighters a means to defend from those killer weapons. So, like the scrolls. Let's see. We're gonna trade. We want the Graph Caliber to be all the way down here. Would also be nice to have that there. Graph Caliber. And then Thunder. I like having my inventories well kept. Well and away kept. Alright, so we can give that pure water. There is one unit that we have to bring to this chapter that you wouldn't necessarily think to bring unless you were using him. And that, my friends, would be Callion. Make sure that he is not only apt to being brought, but that he has the ability to defend himself if absolutely necessary. The Baldur Scroll can stay on Finn. Fergus, Nana, Asbel, and Leif all have scrolls. Those are the only 5 scrolls we have. We do have to have them on all of our units going south. Tanya and Dagdar will not be joining us in this chapter, unfortunately for them. And the reason why that is because this chapter is going to be a little bit fast on the startup and slow on the ending. So we want it to be fast on the startup because, well, it just makes sense, and you'll see why that is. Ocean is pretty well equipped, I think. He might actually want like another vulnerary use. Maybe we'll take Dagdar's. Give Dagdar the 1-use vulnerary for the time being. And yeah, I think that's it. We're also not bringing any of our thieves. So let's go to our deploy menu. We're going to bring Ocean, Asbel, Finn, Karen, Nana, Fergus, and Callion. Alright, so with Callion, like I said, we do want to make sure that he has some items. Let's take an iron sword and a steel lance. And I guess we can also take a vulnerary just in case. One use, all we need. And yeah, that's pretty much it. We're only bringing those units. Now, before we move on in Chapter 9, I think this is our chance to say our farewells. I want to thank you for joining me. If you like my content, please upvote and follow, or like and subscribe depending on your platform. And while you're at it, have a great and glorious day gaming.